Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. In this video, I decided to do a Valentine special featuring Starscream and Windblade. My first time ever seeing Starscream was in the 2007 live-action Transformer movie, and I didn't really like him in that movie because all the Decepticons seemed to act the same or behave in the same fashion or manner, and he just didn't stick out to me. I found it funny that he was shaped like a Dorito, which is consistent with some of his designs. But anyways, my second time seeing him was not in the second live-action movie, but Transformers Prime, which is by far one of my favorite Transformers series to this day. I have not seen the G1 series, which I would absolutely love to do, but for now, my favorite is Transformers Prime. And in that series, I found him very entertaining, and he was very different than how I had seen him in the live-action movies. He definitely had his own personality, and I thought it was really entertaining to see how he would just switch from being quote-unquote loyal to Megatron to just trying to do whatever he could to become the leader at all costs. And then when Megatron would find out, he would just be like, oh no, I'm sorry. No, I was not trying to betray you. Psh, no, I would never do that. Very entertaining. Love that show. And then I would watch the live actions again, and I would see him again, and I was like, he's the same. And then he got beheaded, and I kind of felt bad, just a tiny bit, because I was like, oh well. And then, later on down the line, I watched Earthspark, and I don't really like Earthspark as much, but Starscream's design wasn't too bad. I liked it. It kind of felt like Starscream, and it looked like Starscream, so didn't have too much to complain about. I don't think I've seen him in anything else. Right. Then I had seen a couple episodes of Cyberverse, which I think is also where I first saw Windblade as well. I just didn't know who she was, but I don't know. That show, I don't even know what the plot was. I only watched a couple episodes, and I was just confused, and I was like, they're not really doing anything. And it was kind of funny because it wasn't very serious, but I don't really have comment on that for Starscream, except he kind of seemed the same as he did in Transformers Prime. Now, I have seen clips of the G1 series, and I just think his voice is very funny sounding. It just sounds very funny. Kind of like how it does in Transformers 1 after D16, at the time, crushes his voice box, and it gets really crackly, which I just think sounds so funny, because he's so unintimidating, and I did feel bad for him when Sentinel just laughed. He's like, you sound stupid or pathetic, I don't know, but it was just funny, and I felt bad for him there. But I think that voice just makes sense for him a little bit because of how funny it sounds. You can't take him serious with that voice. Like, you can't. Speaking of Transformers 1, I did really like Starscream's design and the voice acting and just his characterization throughout that movie. 10 out of 10. Absolutely loved it. That's actually where I think I was like, oh man, Starscream's really cool. And my appreciation for him grew more so from that. And then after I watched Transformers 1, I got into the comics more so. And I started off reading the Windblade comics and then the Till All Are One. And in the Windblade comics, he looked very different. His design was very different. It was like the Armada Starscream, which I think it was the Armada Starscream, but the design was different a little bit. He just seemed different. He seemed almost, for lack of a better word, he seemed more mature in a sense. I didn't have context, but I was like, oh, he's the ruler of Cybertron now. How did that happen? I was like, okay, that's cool. Nice. Good job, dude. He seemed a lot more concerned with the well-being of others, a little bit more, than he had in any other continuity or any other series I had seen him in. Because he was doing stuff to take care of Cybertron and its citizens. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I would see him being shady and doing stuff like blackmailing. And I was like, there's Starscream. He's still the same. But then enter Windblade, the visitor from Cheminus. And I was like, oh, she's cool. I think I recognize her. And I think it's so cool. In my opinion, I feel like they help each other grow in a sense. And they help better each other and challenge them both to do better. Because I think they're very, very similar in a lot of ways. They're both really driven. And they both want what's best for Cybertron. But they both want to go about doing it in different ways. And I think it's really interesting to see how they both grow and develop and how their characterization develops. throughout the comics, or at least the Windblade series at least, and to R1, because they don't like each other, but they have to work together, and somehow they kind of like work cohesively. It's just very interesting to see how they get closer in a sense. Which this is just me. This is just me in my opinion. I would love to know what you guys think of them. That'd be great. But I definitely saw it in Transformers to All Are One. I think it was issue 11 or 12, one of those two, where Starscream has to go into Windblade's mind to help her, which he ended up not helping very much because I think her body was dying because she was fighting for control of her mind against the Liege Maximo, which if you want to know that whole thing, you can ask down in the comments and I can explain that whole thing to you. But I don't know if I have enough time in this video to go through that whole thing. But he has to go in and help her. And when he goes in, first of all, I found him doing that at all was very selfless of him, which was different for Starscream because, you know, doesn't usually care about others all the time, usually just saving his own skin or metal. And second, when he's in there, Liege Maximo turns on him and is like, I know all your fears, and I wonder who you fear the most. And then turns into Megatron and proceeds to, in a sense, rip off every frame that he's had, because throughout the comics you can see that his frame has changed, sometimes drastically, sometimes not so much. But it's interesting in this scene where you really see how much he's changed and what's happened to him, because then when Windblade scoops in to grab his spark because it's all that's left, she then sees his past and stuff and what he's gone through, and she can see his cold construction, which a cold construction, for those of you who don't know, is when a spark is put into an already constructed body and then the spark just takes it on and then is a transformer now, which is not how it's supposed to be, because as the Mistress of Flames tells Windblade in her memory in that comic, that the spark is supposed to grow and form in the eyes of Primus and how they're supposed to be, which Starscream did not get that chance. And so Windblade, I don't know where, but she takes this hammer and starts forging his spark. And it's so cool because from that, then you get to finally see his true form and what he could have been, what he should have been from the beginning. And it's such an intimate thing, because not only does Starscream go into her mind, like that's like, you don't want a lot of people doing that. Not a lot of people would trust other people to go into their mind and just do that. And then not only that, he goes into her mind, but then she gets to see, not really into his mind, but like his past and all these things, and has like a deeper understanding of why he does what he does, or why he is, in a sense, how he is. And then she helps him find who he was supposed to be. And I just think it's very poetic in a sense, but I think it's so cool because even in the end, when in the To All Are One annual release, that comic, you see it's the elections and whatever, and Starscream for sure could have probably won. He probably could have, him or Windblade, but he decided to be honest because Windblade helped him see who he really was, and he changed from that, and you can see it in his face when he's talking to Windblade. When they come out of the merge, he's different, and even Rat Trap can see it, because the big thing was he even called the elections in the first place. But I think it really shows how much they've helped each other when Starscream confesses to all that he's done. That's crazy. That was like, whoa, that's a big step. And then of course he's in prison because you do a bunch of illegal stuff, you're gonna face the consequences. But then Windblade goes to see him, and she brings him a little hollow projection. I love how she asks him why he did it, and he's like, don't you already know? And she's like, I think I do. And I'm just like, oh, that was it for me. And then she gives him the little hollow projection of his true form, and he just smiles, and it's just such a sweet little moment. And again, that could just be me reading into this how I want to read into it. You guys could just see it differently. I don't know. Let me know your opinions in the comments on this specific ship, but I think it's pretty cool. But that's all for this one, and I hope you guys have a blessed Valentine's Day. Peace out.